Welcome back. We're back with our enslaved ancestor, Mary Prince, a Bermudian enslaved woman. She's currently on the Turk's island in this part of the narrative. Mr. D had an enslaved man called Old Daniel, whom he used to treat in the most cruel manner. Poor Daniel was lame in the hip and could not keep up with the rest of the enslaved, and our master would order him to be stripped and laid on the ground, and have him beaten with a rod of rough briar till his skin was quite red and raw. He would then call for a bucket of salt and fling upon the raw flesh till the man writhed on the ground like a worm and screamed aloud with agony. The poor man's wounds were never healed, and I've often seen them full of maggots, which increased his torments to an intolerable degree. He was an object of pity and terror to the whole gang of enslaved people. And in his wretched case, we saw each of us our own lot if we should live to be as old. Oh, the horrors of slavery! How the thought of it pains my heart, but the truth ought to be told of it. And what my eyes have seen, I think it's my duty to relate. For few people in England know what slavery is. I've been a slave, and I felt what a slave feels, and I know what a slave knows, and I would have all the good people in England to know it too, that they may break our chains and set us free. Mr. D had another enslaved man called Ben. He, being very hungry, stole a little rice one night after he came in from work, and he cooked it for his supper. But his master soon discovered the theft, locked him up all night, and kept him without food till 1 o'clock the next day. He then hung Ben up by his hand and beat him from time to time till the slaves came in at night. We found the poor creature hung up when we came home with a pool of blood beneath him, and our master still licking him. But this was not the worst. My master's son was in the habit of stealing the rice and rum. Ben had seen him do this and thought he might do the same. And when master found out that Ben had stolen the rice and swore to punish him, he tried to excuse himself by saying that Master Dickie did the same thing every night. The lad denied it to his father and was so angry with Ben for informing against him that out of revenge he ran and got a bayonet, and whilst the young wretch was suspended by his hands and writhing under his wounds, he ran it quite through his foot. It was not by when he did it, but I saw the wound when I came home and heard Ben tell the manner in which it was done. I must say something more about this cruel son of a cruel father. He had no heart, no fear of God. He had been brought up by a bad father in a bad path, and he delighted to follow in the same steps. There was a little woman among the enslaved called Sarah, who was nearly too old to work, and Master Dickie being the overseer of the enslaved just then, this poor creature, who was subject to several bodily infirmities and was not quite right in her head, did not wheel the barrow fast enough to please him. He threw her down on the ground, and after beating her severely, he took her up in his arms and flung her among the prickly pear bushes, which are all covered over with sharp, venomous prickles. By this her naked flesh was grievously wounded, and her body swelled and festered all over. And she died a few days after. In telling my own sorrows, I cannot bypass those of my fellow enslaved people, for when I think of my own grief, I remember theirs. I think it was about 10 years I had worked in the salt pond at Turk's Island when my master left off business and retired to a house he had in Bermuda, leaving his son to succeed him in the island. He took me with him to wait upon his daughters, and I was joyful, for I was sick of Turk's Island, and my heart yearned to see my native place again, my mother and my kindred. I had seen my poor mother during the time I was enslaved on Turk's Island. One Sunday morning, I was on the beach with some of the enslaved, and we saw a slope come in loaded with slaves to work in the salt water. We got on a boat and went abroad. When I came up on the deck, I asked the black people, "Is there anyone here for me?" "Yes," they said, "your mother." I thought they said that in jest. I could scarcely believe them for joy. But when I saw my poor mammy, my joy was turned to sorrow, for she had gone from her senses. "Mammy," I said, "is this you?" She said she did not know me. "Mammy," I said, "what's the matter?" She began to talk foolishly and said she had been under the vessel's bottom. They had been overtaken by a violent storm at sea. My mother had never been on the sea before, and she was so ill that she lost her senses, and it was long before she came quite to herself again. She had a sweet child with her, a little sister I had never seen, about 4 years of age, called Rebecca. I took her on shore with me, for I felt I should love her directly. I kept her with me a week, poor little thing. Hers has been a sad life and continues so to this day. My mother worked for some years on this island, but was taken back to Bermuda some time before my master carried me again thither. I'll stop here. This is a lot. Just this barbaric cruelty and the continuous lies that enslavement was like being, on a vacation or just being a normal house servant. It was not. But we'll continue to read and listen. Thank you for listening.